Hi, Rex again here at RW Mods. Today we're going to look at an engine that we've looked at in the past, and now this is a newer version. So we're going to look at this one. This one, the box says Pico, but this is the Maxy Cinco 3.0. We've done a review on the 2.0, and we'll talk about the changes. So we'll open up the box. We have a nice, it's pretty thick instruction manual, some notes, running in. So, and then with the engine, we also have some engine caps, a collet for the clutch, glow plug. Looks like a 6. I thought these came with a 5, but a number 6 glow plug. And here's the engine. Now these have always been good-looking engines. The red with the highlights, machined highlights on the outside, the black case. Everything's really nice looking on this thing. The major change to this one versus the 2.0 is the carburetor. The carburetor was the old style Pico carburetor that they had for many years. It had like the part that went in the block to clamp was steel. They had that same carburetor for a lot of years, and I had to go look on my video for the red Scuderia to see if this was the same carb, because some of the reds, some of the parts are made by Reds, and I wanted to see if that was the same carb, but it looks different. This one looks like not sure if Pico's making it in-house or who knows what's going on over there and stuff, but it looks like an improvement in the previous carb, and obviously there's a reason Maxy went with it on this one. Interesting, it has a little hole there for a spring. You can attach a spring. I'm assuming that's what that's for, to attach a spring for your carb pull, to pull back with a spring. I always just use hair bands, go around, but yeah, it's another option there to have a spring on there. The block, everything looks the same as the 2.0, the last one that I reviewed. They used to have a little more highlight machining on the back plate, and this one doesn't have that, but not a big deal. DLC coated crank like before. And then this one I did order for the customer with a pipe. So here's the box. The pipe comes in, nice box. This is the Maxy's by Pico EFRA 2099. Comes with a nice header, gaskets, springs, everything you need there. The Picos do use a little bit different gasket. If you notice, maybe we'll take this one off here. They don't have the detent in there, so they're just a straight gasket. Now a Nova Rossi, I don't have another engine here, but they have a groove. They have a groove in the rubber, and then it goes on the, kind of locates it. And these are just slide on. So you do need to use Pico Red specific gaskets for these. I think the same ones that used to use years ago still work, because the exhaust port used to be angled down maybe 10 degrees on the older Picos, and still the Reds R5R, even the new 5.0 is the older style block where it angles down a little bit. And with that style, you need to use a header specific to that has that angle down to make everything work smoothly. So we'll dig into this 3.0. I am modifying this for a customer, so I am partially done modifying, and not everything's done, but you'll get to see a little bit of the work that I do. I don't usually show my work too much, but there's some things done with this engine. We'll go through the numbers a little bit later, but it does have some really good numbers and doesn't need modifying. This customer kind of bought a whole package deal, mod, pipe, and everything. And I guess while I'm doing this, this engine does list at $449.99. So $450. That's a little higher in the price range, but this one, Maxy does have a really good price to his dealers. So you probably, I'm not going to say the price, but if you can email me for a price. If you could wait until after the 20th of April. I'm really busy right now, and I'm going to be gone in a few days. So after the 20th of April, they've been in stock really good this year. Some engines are hard to find and hard to get. They sell out quickly, but this one's been pretty consistently in stock. So yeah, try to wait till after the 20th to email me. I've been kind of getting some orders out before I'm gone and getting some stuff done. I've been kind of overwhelmed before I go here, so after the 20th would be good. I can give you a pretty good savings on that, so it's worth, especially if you get a pipe or modified. Like I said, this engine doesn't need a ton of modifying. We'll look at the insides in a little bit. Okay, we have everything apart here. Normally I look at the block first, and this block is the same as the previous Maxy. I think it's similar to the red Scuderia, and those. This one is a ceramic engine. It does say right on the head, ceramic rear bearing, single sealed front bearing. I believe these are a pretty good seal on that bearing, though. It does a nice job keeping dirt out. Pretty sturdy block. I like the looks of it. Clean and good stuff there. Crank is nice because it's DLC coated. That's a diamond-like carbon. It's a special coating. I don't even know the process to it, but it's one of the hardest surfaces you can put on. It does have two, looks like brass weights. Like I said, I was doing some modifying on this, and I don't like to do a lot of cutting on the DLC coated cranks because they are nice and the DLC is not prone to rust, so that any spot that I grind on here is going to be could possibly rust. So I did a cut here to I do like that cut for airflow, plus it does help the balance. It's on the upper side here. Any weight you can take away from this side does help with balance a little bit. And a little bit of knife edge. I didn't want to get too carried away there. The cut here is really nice, but it's kind of blunt here from the factory, so I kind of just it's going to cut through the air in the crankcase and a little bit better. This engine comes, it should run just perfect stock, but this person wanted it modified, so we're going to do a little bit of tweaking, probably some of the biggest changes in the boost side here to get that air kind of flowing in there a little bit higher, some direction on the flow here. Nothing too major, just a little bit of helping the flow in the engine. Another thing I did is did a little bit of modifying to the head button. They come really flat across here, and then with a dome. And I think the flame travels a little bit better with an angle there, so I touch that up a little bit and polish it. So I'll go back to the sleeve here. This is a Cinco, so it's 5 ports. Has the longer slot, and then 3 bigger ports. Pretty good size. Looks like I need to do a little bit of, I thought that was a piece of stuck in the chrome there, but it wasn't. So yeah, it's pretty good sleeve. I do like this versus the other The old style sleeve was about a 10 thousandths diameter smaller, and it kind of had sharper edges. This one's a little beefier. I like it, just seems better. And the red Scuderia and the higher end reds are a sleeve that looks similar to this. The bore is different on the Scuderia, but it looks similar in style, the way it's machined and cut out and stuff. The piston, these always have a good hard aluminum, and the piston hold their pinch good. Nice strong rods on these. Everything feels like really, you know, some of the cheaper engines you can feel some sharp edges and stuff. This is just really nicely like a polished tumble finish. Did do a little cutting on the piston here to help with the flow. It helps the airflow underneath the piston out to the boost side. So these come with the backplate machine like this. I think the last one I did, or the 2.0 that I did, and then there's the Pico Blast is very similar to this engine also, same bore and stroke. It looked like a little bit bigger dimple in it, but for the most part kind of the same design. So that I'm not quite sure when the engine's running, the air comes out of the crank and it hits that, and it might disperse a little bit more. It's kind of helps it flow a little bit. I think it's a subtle change, but it's kind of nice to see something different and do that. Now it's similar to what I would do to drill the holes in too. I haven't drilled this backplate. It does seem kind of thin here. Might not have room to drill that. A lot of times I'll add an epoxy to the backside just to make sure it doesn't go through. And the carb is the new part of this engine, and I think it's similar to the Reds, the newer Reds carb, but it looks different. The Reds didn't have it was a little bit shorter, I think, where this needle comes in and stuff, but it looks like an improvement. Looks kind of reminiscent of the OS carb. Has a nice smooth feel to it. It does have the insulator, kind of like the Reds has. Almost looks like, yeah, maybe a Delrin material, is like a hard plastic that insulates the aluminum carb from the heat from the crankcase getting up into the carb somewhat. It's not going to prevent it all of it, but it insulates from the carb heat soaking and stuff. The needle kind of tips out a little bit more than some engines, but comes with a 6.5 restrictor. There was no other restrictor in the box. It's a 3 needle carburetor. This is your mid needle. It's some call it a spray bar adjustment, and that's just where the low speed needle goes in, so you can move that point where the air or the fuel comes out. You can move that a little bit in there. I don't have a dyno, and I haven't played with that too much, but it's a subtle change. I did notice that it's a short low speed needle, but it pulls out pretty late in the travel. And it's very blunt on the end. A lot of times they kind of taper off, and it's very blunt on the end. Let's see if we can see that. Very blunt on the end. I might modify this low speed for this engine a little bit on that. So sometimes I do that, modify the low speed needles a little bit to kind of help fuel flow in some different areas, especially that LRP Z32. Guys don't like it. Guys don't like the carburetor, and I modified a couple of them. I haven't gotten any feedback, but I basically shortened the low speed needle so it's dumping a little more fuel at mid throttle. But the head, it's got a nice solid feel to it. It sits low, not the lowest, but it does sit lower on the block, which is a good thing. Nice accents with the drilling after it's anodized. Yeah, it's a good looking head. Feels maybe a tad bit heavier than some, but that can also cool a little bit nicer too. So yeah, that's it on this Cinco. So we'll look at some numbers here. I guess one thing I didn't say is the piston to head clearance on this thing. I was getting like 18 to 20 thousandths, and that's at TDC. I feel that's a little bit tight. That's a little too much compression, and for this engine, I'm going to be adding a shim. I did just break in like last month. I broke in a Cinco 2.0, and man, that thing just purred on the. I have a break-in bench, a Huddy break-in bench. That thing just purred, and this is actually a friend of mine's, and he said it just runs really sweet when he hasn't raced with it yet, but he's ran it in the driveway, and he said the thing just is really smooth, and I think that's something to do with the balance and just really smooth engine. So we'll look at some numbers here, and I didn't see a whole lot of changes from the 2.0. I think it's probably more the biggest numbers I saw a difference on was the blowdown. So this is a Maxy Cinco 3.0. It's a 16.03 bore. That's the way they're advertised. 16.03 bore, 17.3 stroke. I'm getting about 16.06, I think, on the piston, but somewhere in that range. Now this is kind of in between a standard long stroke and the super long stroke. So that I think the Bonito is like a 15.9 bore, somewhere in that. So it's not as small a bore as the Bonito, but it's not a 16.28 is kind of your standard long stroke P5 bore. Argus Alpha. A lot of companies use that 16.28 bore. So this is a little bit smaller bore, a little bit longer stroke, but it's not quite as much as like the Bonito and some of the Novarossi stuff. The blowdown's 44 on this. Induction open 155. Induction closed 65 for a total of 220. And that's kind of on the high end of what I like to, if I did some modifying, I'd probably modify it up to these numbers. So I probably won't be touching these numbers on here. The blowdown on this one, I was getting 40 to 41, I think, on the 2.0. I think it's just a difference in the engine. I don't think they really made a conscious change there, because I went back and looked at the Pico Blast, which is the same bore and stroke as this engine, which this engine is just got a couple subtle differences from the Pico Blast that Maxy specified. But when I looked at the Pico Blast numbers, the blowdown was 44, in that 44 range. So maybe that 2.0 that I did test was just a little bit lower, just the way it was machined, or could have been even, you can get off a degree or two just in measuring. It's not a whole lot of difference there. So those are really good numbers. This is looking at these numbers, the blowdown probably geared more towards a buggy, but you'd probably have to try it in a truggy and see if you like it. Probably would pull a truggy pretty good. If you're lacking anything, it's on a real slow corner with the blowdown up there, but should be a good performer, just stock even. So like I said, we're just doing just a few almost tuning changes on this thing, for the modifying and stuff. So this engine's also available in a GT model. I haven't seen the GT model internally. It's probably pretty similar. Maybe it's got some different timing numbers or something, but good quality stuff here. This is probably one of the better deals of 2021, at least that I can get. Yeah, you're talking, less expensive than a OS Speed. You're getting the DLC coated crank, a ceramic bearing, so value-wise, pretty good. It's the new carburetor should be an improvement. So all in all, I really like the engine. I've sold a few of the 2.0s. This is the first 3.0 I've sold, but great engine. It seemed to last a long time. So for this one, like I said, I'm gonna be adding a head shim. Probably get that up in the 24 to 26 thousandths pistons at head clearance range. But so that's it on the Cinco 3.0. Sorry. Thanks for watching.